One sunny day, siblings Cal and Becky drive along a green field with tall grass. Becky feels nauseous, prompting Cal to stop the car. He reassures her, reminding her that nausea is normal in her condition. However, Becky suddenly suggests turning back. Cal reminds her they are expected in San Diego and that she still has time to make her final decision. Suddenly, Becky hears a child's cries for help coming from the grass. She steps out of the car while Cal moves the vehicle closer to a nearby church and then joins her. The voice of a boy claims he's been lost in the grass for days and cannot find his way out. However, a woman's voice soon follows, warning the boy, Tobin, not to call the strangers closer. Surprised, Cal disappears into the grass, prompting Becky to follow him while trying to call emergency services. The call fails, and she soon loses sight of Cal. Meanwhile, Cal wanders through the field, shouting for both Tobin and Becky. He hears Becky's voice suggesting he call 911, but his phone and glasses are in the car. Tobin speaks up again, and Cal tells him to stay in place. Becky, feeling mud beneath her feet, realizes something is wrong and voices her concerns to Cal. She suggests they keep talking so he can follow her voice and begins reciting a nursery rhyme. Yet Cal claims her voice is moving farther away, even though she insists she's standing still. Her voice then inexplicably shifts to the opposite direction. Becky suggests they jump simultaneously with their arms raised. On their first attempt, she spots Cal not far from her, but when they repeat the action, he is nowhere to be seen. Cal starts running, calling for Becky, but he slips and falls face first into the mud, discovering a dead dog's carcass nearby. Becky urges him to head back to the road and forget about Tobin. As night approaches, Becky and Cal are still unable to find their way out. Becky's stomach begins to ache. Suddenly, she encounters a man who introduces himself as Tobin's father, Ross. He invites her to join him, explaining that he has been searching for his son and wife, Natalie, for a long time. Becky agrees to stick together, and Ross calls out to Cal, promising they'll reunite soon. Meanwhile, Cal meets Tobin, who warns him that the field only moves the living and assures him they'll find Becky soon. Tobin explains that he and his family heard cries for help and entered the grass together, but they've been lost ever since. He doesn't know how long they've been there, but insists Becky will die soon. The tall grass, he says, knows everything because of a stone that teaches it to speak to those who wander within. Tobin offers to show Cal the stone and leads him toward it. At the same time, Becky and Ross traverse the green maze. As they talk, Becky reveals that the father of her child abandoned her out of fear of responsibility. Ross expresses pity for the man, emphasizing that family is life's most important thing. Becky then notices a discarded purse and scattered belongings, but loses sight of Ross at that moment. Someone else emerges from the grass. Meanwhile, Cal follows Tobin to a clearing where a massive stone stands, radiating an overwhelming presence. Cal is frozen in awe as Tobin touches the stone, exclaiming over the pleasant sensations it gives. Tobin invites Cal to do the same, but Cal hears Becky's cries and rushes off to find her. Tobin apologizes, saying they're too late. Later, a car travels down the same road. Its driver, Travis, is searching for Cal and Becky. He notices their abandoned car near a church dedicated to a Blackstone Redeemer. Upon inspecting the vehicle, he finds spoiled food and notes that other cars nearby appear long abandoned. Inside the church, he finds it empty, but discovers a dusty book signed by Becky. He enters the field, tying knots in the grass to avoid getting lost, but the blades untangle themselves behind him. Travis soon realizes something is wrong, but cannot find a way out. As night falls, he lies on the ground and looks at a photo of Becky, whom he recently broke up with. Suddenly, Tobin appears, advising Travis to listen. Travis hears the whispers of countless voices of those who vanished in the field. Tobin insists they've met before, though Travis doesn't remember. He also says he knows Becky and can lead Travis to her. Tobin runs ahead, guiding Travis to a different part of the field where Becky's dead body lies. Heartbroken, Travis mourns her as Tobin disappears. At sunrise, Travis takes Becky's medallion, which she always wore, and sets off. Soon, he hears voices from the road and calls for help. To his shock, Tobin responds but doesn't recognize him. Tobin's family has stopped near the church and the boy heard cries for help. Realizing the danger, Travis warns the family not to enter the grass, but Tobin's dog runs into the field and the boy follows. Natalie runs after her son, forcing Ross to follow as well. Hours pass as they wander through the grass, hearing each other's voices but unable to reunite. That night, Ross stumbles upon the large black stone. The next day, the events repeat. Cal and Becky, having stopped their car, hear Tobin's cries for help and enter the grass. As Becky begins reciting a nursery rhyme, their voices reach a weary Travis. He calls out to them, confusing Cal and Becky, who don't understand how he could be there before them. Tobin announces he's found his dog, but it's already dead. Travis advises the boy to stay by the dog while directing the others to his voice. Tobin recites the nursery rhyme as the group follows the sound, finally reuniting. Travis explains that the field doesn't move the dead, which allowed them to converge near the dog's body. Cal and Becky are shocked to learn they never made it to San Diego and vanished 2 months earlier. As Becky experiences severe stomach pain, Travis lifts Tobin onto his shoulders to scout for an exit. Tobin spots the church in the distance, and the group moves toward it. On the way, Travis explains that he came looking for them because their parents are very worried. Becky then confesses that she is expecting a baby girl, fathered by Travis, and wants to name her Jenny. Suddenly her phone rings, and an unknown caller shouts at her not to let Cal hurt Travis, warning that otherwise they will keep making the same mistake. The mysterious woman frightens Becky and urges the group to keep moving. As they push through the grass, Becky begins experiencing strange visions and eventually collapses. The men panic, unsure of what to do, when Ross appears. He performs CPR and revives her. Tobin rushes to hug his father, who claims he found a way out but came back for his family. However, when Tobin climbs onto Travis's shoulders again, the church on the horizon is no longer visible. The group has no choice but to follow Ross, even as night falls. Ross talks about his work in real estate. He shares that his family was on vacation when they heard Travis's cries for help. He recalls how he once played guitar, but he settled down after getting married. Now he claims nothing compares to this. Ross reveals the Black Stone, calling it ancient and claiming that this place is at the very center of the American continent. He urges the others to touch the stone, saying it is the only way out. Cal reaches out to the stone, but Natalie suddenly bursts from the grass, begging him not to. She hugs Tobin and warns the others not to trust Ross, who wants to harm them. She also tells Becky that she saw her lifeless body a few days ago. Ross begins passionately explaining that touching the stone will help them understand a higher purpose and reveal their true master. He describes the world opening up like a flower. Despite his fervent words, no one wants to touch the stone. They all want to escape as quickly as possible. The grass suddenly stops swaying and Ross promises to take drastic measures. Travis attacks him, urging the others to run, but Ross overpowers him. Ross laments that Travis refused to touch the stone. If he had, he would have known the way home but wouldn't have wanted to leave. Unable to bear it, Natalie lunges at her husband, but Ross kills her in front of everyone, claiming all flesh is like grass. In the chaos, Travis breaks free and again urges everyone to flee. The group dashes into the grass and soon spots a living dog. The dog leads them to a building surrounded by grass where they take shelter. Inside, Cal resets Travis's arm, which Ross had injured. Meanwhile, Tobin recalls his father's words, saying that people die and are reborn, just like grass. Tensions flare between Travis and Cal when it's revealed that Travis once urged Becky to terminate her pregnancy. Becky, fed up with their selfishness, snaps, saying she's tired and hungry and doesn't want to argue about who loves her more. Travis apologizes, but Cal refuses to calm down. A fight breaks out just as Ross starts pounding on the building's door. The group hides on the upper level, realizing for the first time that they saw this structure from the road. The church is nearby, but they would have to cross the grass again. They watch the dog enter the grass and disappear. Curious, Travis leans over to see what happened and slips. Cal catches him, but eventually lets go. Tobin witnesses this. Ross catches up to them. Cal lies to Becky, saying Travis is right behind him, but she quickly realizes the truth and leaves for the grass. Ross seizes Cal, claiming he now knows everyone's deepest fears. He reveals that Cal feared Becky's closeness to Travis because it would leave him feeling unwanted. Cal escapes and runs, but Ross captures him again, as all paths in the grass lead back to him. Terrified, Cal sees dozens of bodies belonging to his duplicates before Ross kills him. Meanwhile, Travis regains consciousness and calls out for Becky, who feels terrible. She responds to his voice and he thanks her for keeping the baby. She confesses that she had planned to give the child up for adoption to a family in San Diego, which was why she and Cal were traveling there. However, she has since changed her mind. Travis promises they will make it out and everything will be fine. Just then, Becky screams as Ross attacks her, intending to assault her. She grabs a pair of manicure scissors from a discarded bag and stabs him in the eye, managing to escape. Rain begins to fall and Becky hears whispers before being surrounded by figures formed from the green stalks. These figures carry her to the Black Stone of Redemption. At the stone, Becky begins experiencing labor pains. Her phone suddenly turns on, and she begs the unknown caller to ensure Cal doesn't hurt Travis, or they will keep repeating the same mistake. As the pain intensifies, the carvings on the stone seem to depict a ritual involving a newly born life. The ground near the stone collapses, revealing roots intertwined with the figures of thousands of lost souls. Becky loses consciousness. When she wakes, Cal is sitting nearby. He reassures her that the baby is fine, giving her water and what he calls grass to eat. But next to her lie the remains of her child. Later, Travis emerges from the grass to find Becky unconscious. He weeps over her lifeless body. Tobin appears and informs him that Ross killed both the child and Cal and that this nightmare will never end. Determined, Travis vows to protect Tobin and confronts Ross. The one-eyed Ross arrives immediately, attacking Travis. He digs a fragment of human bone out of the ground and severely wounds the young man. Ross tries to force his son to touch the stone to achieve purification, but Becky, mustering her last strength, blinds Ross in his other eye. As Ross writhes in pain, Travis regains his composure, strangles Ross with the grass, and kills him. However, Becky succumbs to her injuries and dies. Realizing that there's only one way to break the cycle, Travis approaches the stone. Tobin begs him not to touch it, warning that doing so will trap him in the field forever. Despite this, Travis touches the stone, gaining knowledge and power. With his newfound understanding, Travis orders Tobin to follow him. He gives Tobin Becky's medallion, saying they don't belong in the grass and instructing him to ensure no one else enters it, no matter what. Tobin is transported to the abandoned church and sees Cal's car approaching. Inside, Cal and Becky hear Tobin's cries from the grass. Tobin rushes to meet them and begs them not to enter. When Cal insists on going into the field, Tobin hands Becky the medallion, an exact replica of her own, explaining that he received it from Travis. Realizing something is deeply wrong, Becky stops her brother. The siblings get back in their car, and Becky asks Cal to drive them to the police station instead. She confesses that she has changed her mind about going to San Diego and intends to raise her child herself. Meanwhile, the battered and disfigured Travis, understanding that he has broken the loop, lies down on the ground and vanishes, consumed by the grass.